Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Heartland Franchise Guide, your insider's guide to all things franchising in the local area. I'm Blake Martin, local small business franchise owner and your Heartland Franchise Guy. This is the place for advocacy, resources, and education on all things franchising in the local area, and a great place for entrepreneurs looking to learn more about the franchising industry. So, I want to franchise my business. That's the topic for today. Our guest today happens to be an expert in that very unique niche. So let's welcome Steve Biegelman, founder and CEO of SMB Franchise Advisors. Thanks for joining us today, Steve.
Hi, Blake. Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate you dialing in from the Pennsylvania area today. It's good to have you along for the ride.
Happy to be here. It's nice and sunny out today, so today's a good day.
It is a good day, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
And if you want to hear more about our topic of discussion today that Steve and I are going through, just hit the QR code, scan the QR code on your screen there, or reach out to us with that contact information, and we'll be happy to help you with the next steps. So Steve's the founder and CEO of SMB Franchise Advisors, which is a long name for what means he's had a lot of experience in a lot of different things in franchising. And Steve, I got a first question for you. Let's just say it's becoming a more common occurrence for private equity to have a real interest in franchising. Just ask you a really honest question. Do you see that as a net positive or something to be concerned about?
No, it's been a tremendous positive, I think. And I've seen private equity at all different levels. And there are, smaller boutique private equity firms that, invest in emerging franchisors early on when, they may have 5 to 30 locations. And then you have the larger private equity firms that get very excited about brands when they get to 75 plus locations and then want to add them to their, portfolio companies. But we've seen it as a real big positive so far in all the brands that we've touched and helped grow. And in franchising in general. And I've talked at several of the conferences in regards to private equity and franchising. So I'm a believer in it. I think it's a great value for the franchisees. In a lot of cases, the franchisor sometimes takes it as far as they can, Blake, right? So sometimes it's a funding issue. They're not willing to go out and, raise another $2 million to, create a proprietary POS system for the brand or hire a team to go do national accounts, whereas a private equity firm can come in and really invest significant capital and bring on a bigger infrastructure to do that, or spend the money on the proprietary, POS system or whatever it may be, software system, whatever it may be. So, we've seen some significant value. And, sometimes when they do a private equity transaction and it's a portfolio company, the other brands already have the technology in place for some of their other concepts. So it could be a routing
other
system.
brands that the private equity already owns in franchise.
Yeah, exactly. So they may be folding it in with other brands that, are in home services, and they have a routing system for all the drivers already that you didn't have as a franchisor. So a lot of the value there is not just for the franchisor who's selling, but it's for the franchisees. Who, yes, they were really excited about doing business with the original founder, and that's what, sold them, the founder and the management team. But, the private equity firms help it really grow to the next level. And that is pretty exciting. And look, I've seen it both ways. I mean, certainly there are some private equity firms that come in and want to change everything about a company, and some people don't like that. I've lived through some of that as well myself. But it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just different. And sometimes it's hard from a cultural standpoint. If you were used to a certain culture and you were there for, 10 or 20 years to change. But that being said, typically it ends up being very, very good for a brand.
What of all the investments they can make, what's private equity's interested in franchising? Why have they become so interested in investing in franchise organizations?
Yeah, it's typically the model, the model that they love. It's the royalty stream is kind of like an annuity. It just continues. And, when you look at franchise brands, even after the agreement is up, let's just say it's a 10-year contract, which is the average in franchising. Some are 20, some are 5, but let's just say the average is 10, which it probably is. Even after 10 years, a franchisee can't say, okay, I'm going to take down my sign and call it Steve's Burger Hop. If I was a Five Guys or a McDonald's franchisee, I mean, I learned how to make burgers from, McDonald's or University or, or Five Guys or Burger King or Wendy's, whoever brand I was a part of. So I can't just take my sign down and operate as an independent. So even if I decide I want to get out of the business and, get out of the burger business, I'm going to renew my franchise agreement and then sell my asset, which now has a new 10-year term on it, to a new franchisee. And then I'm going to go move somewhere else and do something else with my life, open a different type of business, whatever it may be. So, so in franchising, they really love the royalty stream. That's what they're really buying. And believing that they can continue to grow a brand, faster than the franchisor has in a lot of cases.
And so obviously what I'm hearing from you too is they have just as much of a vested interest, being the new owners of a franchise system. They have just as much of a vested interest as the original founder in doing whatever it takes to maintain that royalty stream, meaning doing whatever it takes to help their franchisees continue to grow.
Yeah,
that's their annuity.
As a matter of fact, in a lot of cases now with private equity, very different than 15 and 20 years ago with private equity. In a lot of cases, they don't ask the founders to 100% exit. The founders still own a piece of the new company going forward. It's a minority stake in most cases, not all, but in most, it's a minority stake. So they still own a piece going forward. Sometimes they still have a good role in the company, and sometimes it's a fully active role. One of my brands that just did a private equity transaction a couple of months ago, the founders are still running the whole company. They're the CEO. They're the vice president of operations. I mean, they are running day to day of the business. Now, ultimately, they can't make a decision over a certain dollar amount. They can't just decide the company's going to go buy a new building or anything like that without talking to the board. But day to day, they're running the company. So and they're making those decisions. So it all depends on the company, the situation, where the founder is in life and what they want to achieve. Do they want to go kind of relax a little bit, or do they, want to still grow? And are they, still at the age where they want to still build a brand for the next 10 or 15 years? And I think a lot of the private equity firms look at that and then evaluate how they want to kind of do an acquisition or roll it into, other brands that they own.
Thank you for that deep dive on the entrance of private equity into the franchising field, or the expediting of private equity's continuing entrance. It's a topic that's been coming up more and more, and it's more and more prevalent. So I really appreciate your expert overview of that.
No problem. No problem.
Steve, thanks so much. I really appreciate your overview. Good hearing more about your experience and the fact that you've lived in the shoes of the folks that you're helping get into the franchising business. But thank you for joining us from Pennsylvania today, Steve Beagleman, founder and CEO of SMB Franchise Advisors.
Oh, you're welcome. Blake, thanks for having me. Have a great rest of the day.
You too. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for listening to another episode of the Heartland Franchise Guy. We'll see you again here soon on another episode. Have a wonderful day.